Okay, this is homework help for 5-6. Practice day 2 with simplifying radicals. All right, let's do the odds together. We're going to simplify each radical expression, and we're going to do it with the go fish method. That's what I call it, because it's kind of like playing go fish. You find your pairs on the inside of the radical, you circle each pair, and that becomes one. Each pair number becomes one number on the outside. Okay? Now, number 1 is square root of 169. That's actually a perfect square. And we have these papers available in class that have a list of the first 25 perfect squares. 169 right here is basically 13 times 13. So the answer to number 1 is just 13. Now, if you do it with the factor method in the calculator, you're still going to arrive to that. The calculator will give you 13 squared, which we know is 2 13s, and then we would circle our pair of 13s, and that would give us a 13 on the outside. So even if you don't know it's one of these, you'll still get it, but this saves you some time. Let's do number 3. Number 3 is 125. Let's go ahead and put that in our calculator, and we're going to factor menu 2 3 125. Sorry, you can't see that. 125. We have 5 to the 3rd power, so we're going to write that out in expanded form. It's 5 times 5 times 5, all on the inside of my radical. So I have a pair of 5s here that I'm going to lay down by drawing 1 5 on the outside. Okay? So these 5s are gone. All I have left on the inside is this other 5. So I'm left with 5 square root of 5. Let's take a look at number 5. We have all these 5s going on here. Number 5, we have the square root of 68. I'm going to go to menu 2 3. Menu 2 3, and I get my factor screen. I put in 68, push enter. I have 2 to the 2nd power times 17. That's giving me 2 number 2s and a 17. So 2 times 2 times 17. I'm going to circle my pair of 2s and rewrite that as 1 2 on the outside. All I have left on the inside is square root of 17. There's my answer for that one. Okay, let's check out number 7. Number 7 is the first one on this paper where we have variables. And it looks scarier or harder. It's really not. We're going to do it the exact same way. That x to the 4th power just means we have 4 x's on the inside of the radical. So first of all, I'm just going to put in my factor of 63. Okay, factor of 63, push enter. Now notice, I'm not typing the x in here. I don't do the variables in the calculator, okay? I don't need to. So I do factor of 63. That gives me 3 times 3 times 7. So let's write that in my radical, my expanded form, 3 times 3 times 7. But what I'm going to add to that is 4 x's in the radical. That's what that x to the 4th means. So times x, times x, times x, times x. Okay, let's circle the pairs and bring out what we can. I circle those 3's, that gives me a 3 on the outside. Can't circle the 7, there's only 1, but I can circle a pair of x's, gives me an x on the outside. Another pair of x's, that gives me an x on the outside. So 3xx on the outside, we would write that as 3x to the power of 2, because that's what the power 2 means, is x times x. All we have left inside the radical is the 7. So we have 3x squared times the square root of 7. Let's take a look at number 9. Pretty similar. We have 60x to the 7th. I'm going to find my factors of 60. Oops. I get 2 to the 2nd power times 3 times 5. I'm going to write that out as 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. I'm going to make this a big radical because I have a lot of x's in there. So 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. I'm also going to write out 7 x's. Now, as you get used to this, you're not going to need to write out all this stuff, but it's really a good visual way to help you get comfortable with this. Okay? This is all underneath my radical. All right? I have a pair of 2's. I'm going to circle it, cancel it, and bring out a 2 onto the outside. Can't cancel the 3 or the 5, but here's 2 x's I can circle, bring one out. 2 more x's to circle, bring one out. 2 more x's to circle, bring one out. So on the outside, I have 2 and 3 x's. I write that as 2x to the 3rd power. On the inside, I have 3 times 5 times x. Well, 3 times 5 gives me 15 with x. So 2x to the 3rd times the square root of 15x. I hope by this time, this is getting pretty comfortable for you guys. If you take your time and write it out and do your circling, I feel like you'll be in the best shape. I have seen some students trying to rush through and do a lot in their head, and they're kind of making some mistakes because they're doing too much in their head, okay? Number 11. On number 11, we have a number on the outside. We already learned from the last assignment and from our notes, you kind of want to ignore that number. I like to draw an arrow showing that I am dropping that number down to the bottom, and I'm going to leave it alone until I get all of my numbers out of my radical that I can. Then I will multiply those numbers by this outside number, okay? So I'm also drawing the arrow to remind myself I don't want to forget about this number at the end, right? It is going to be part of my answer, but I don't do anything yet. So in the calculator, all I put in is 45. I want the factors of 45. So factor 45, I get 3 to the 2nd power, or 2 3's, and a 5. So I'm going to rewrite my radical stuff in expanded form. 3 times 3 times 5. But I also have x to the 3rd power. So also in here I have 3 x's. Now I can circle my pairs and bring out what I can. These 2 3's cancel, and it gives me a 3 on the outside. 5 can't cancel, but these 2 x's can cancel. Gives me an x on the outside. So now my outside numbers, and I'm including the negative 3 from the beginning, negative 3 times 3 gives me negative 9x. That's my outside answer. Negative 9x. The inside answer, all I have left is 5x. So my final answer is negative 9x times the square root of 5x. Okay? Number 13, we have some radical numbers that are multiplied together. And the good news is it's pretty straightforward. You do exactly what you would think to do, and you multiply them together. So we're going to multiply 6 times 30. You get 180. So what we're left with is a new single radical with 180 inside. And now we proceed just like we did on previous problems. We're going to go to menu, 2, 3. We're going to get the factors of that 180. So I have a couple of 2's, a couple of 3's, and a 5. Let's write that in the radical. Let's circle my pairs. Those 2's give me 1 2 on the outside. The 2 3's give me 1 3 on the outside. The 5 has to stay. So my outside answer, 2 times 3, gives me 6. And then I'm left with square root of 5 right there. So 6 square root of 5. There you go. Okay, number 15. And we'll be done with the front. This one is similar, but there is one extra part. We have an outside number here. Now, if I had another outside number in front of this square root of 96, what I would do is I would multiply my outside numbers, and that would be a new outside answer or number, and I'd still multiply my numbers in the radical, and that gives me that part. And then I'd proceed as I did on previous problems. Right now, I don't have any other outside numbers, so this is like a 2 times 1. There's like an invisible 1 there. So my outside number is 2, but I'm going to go ahead and multiply my 3 and my 96, and I'm going to put that new answer, 288, inside a radical, a single radical. And now I can proceed just like I did on previous problems, okay? I'm going to ignore the 2 till the end, so I'm going to bring them down here to the end. And I'm going to factor my 288. I get 2 to the power of 5. That's basically 5 2's multiplied together. And then I have 2 3's multiplied together. Okay, so I'm going to write it out in expanded form. Oops, I did what some people did. It's 5 2's, but I'm writing the number 5. I'm writing the number 2 5 times. I've seen some of you guys do that too. It is a lot of number talking. Make sure you're writing down the right number and write it down the correct number of times. 1 2 3 4 5 2's, and then I'm writing the 3 out twice. Okay, so let's circle pairs. These 2's give me a 2 on the outside. These 2's give me a 2 on the outside. I have to leave that 2 alone, but these 3's give me a 3 on the outside. 2 times 2 times 2 gives me 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So my outside number is 24. And I have a 2 on the inside. So 24 square root of 2. Okay, and let's go to the back. Number 17. Now we have to remember our exponent rules here because we have an square root of 4x, and that is x to the power of 1, times square root of 12, x to the power of 5. The reason I wrote in that power of 1 is because when you multiply the base of x, you add those exponents. So I'm going to do 12 times 4 and get 48. That was easy. You can do that in the calculator. But when I do my x's, I get x to the 1 times x to the 5. That gives me x to the 6th power. Okay? Now I'm going to get the factors of 48 in my calculator without the extra number there. 48. I have to write the number 2 down 4 times in a row, and then I have a 3 on the end. Okay, let's do that. So I have square root of all that, and I also have x numbered 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all inside the radical. Circle my pairs. This pair of 2's gives me a 2 on the outside. This pair of 2's gives me a 2 on the outside. I got to skip the 3, but those 2 x's gives me an x. Those 2 x's gives me an x. Those last 2 x's gives me an x. 2 times 2 is 4, so I'm left with 4x to the 3rd power, and what I have left in the radical is a 3, so square root of 3. Okay, let's do 19. I'm going to try to get the last 2 done, but if I hit the 15-minute mark, I have to stop, unfortunately. Oh, 19 is short and easy. 36 is a perfect square. 36 is 6 times 6. So the square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 49 is 7. So your answer to this one is 6 over 7. Number 21. 100 is a perfect square. The square root of 100 is 10. That's your top number. The square root of 225 is 15. So that's a faster way. If you didn't know that, oh, and you can reduce this, by the way. 10 over 15, you could put that in the calculator. It would give you 2/3. Okay? All right, there's some more help for you guys. We'll see you in class.